And another thing that's a big change in my lifetime is that when I was growing up, children particularly, because I was a child myself, poor children really looked different from middle-class children because nobody had a whole lot of clothes. My mother would put my hems down every year before the school year started. I can remember in 7th grade realizing that all the boys had gotten taller because all their pant legs had been let down, and it was in the era where a lot of boys wore corduroy pants, so it was really obvious where the hem had been let down, and so families that didn't have money for clothes, and poor children really were dressed in really worn out, torn, dirty, raggedy, out of style, although the styles didn't change as fast. These days, if you look out in our warehouse, we've got bags and bags of clothes that we're trying to get rid of. There are just so many clothes in the world. So there are, for instance, many more homeless people walking up and down Elm Street in Greensboro than most people realize, because it's not that difficult to not look homeless. Except for the grooming. It is more difficult to get your hair done and have the products. But as far as clothes go, and shoes are a little bit more difficult. But as far as clothes go, it's very hard to tell the difference between somebody who's sleeping under a bridge and somebody who's, living in a house somewhere in Greensboro. It is very important to people who are walking around and being judged and who are really dependent on the goodwill of other people not to look homeless, because they're actually going to be shut out from things. And I think we carry a little bit of that around with us in everything. We don't want to be shut out of our connection with other people just because of the way we dress. And so sometimes people dress in a certain way in order to find the other people who dress that way. I mean, the punk rock uniform, or just sort of the hippie uniform, or something that's where you are immediately identifiable, not as a part of it. It's not like a uniform like a cadet's uniform or a band uniform, but it still helps you, or a band shirt. Now there's another one. People wear band shirts just so that other people will know that they like the bands that they like. I've always been most comfortable in the A-line skirt version of things, where people have to get to know me. I'd like to think that it's not. I don't wear sort of a bumper sticker in my visual image. But I worked alone for most of my career, so I just wore whatever I was wearing to work. And when I started working here, I began to realize that it was sort of an insult to the people I was working with, that even though this is a non-hierarchical place, I am still the executive director. And it meant something. People here want to feel proud of the way I'm looking, that I can't just come in pajamas and sit in the back room, that devalues the whole place. It's been a process for me of recognizing that people here don't want me to be in solidarity with them by dressing the way they do, because they don't necessarily want to dress the way they're dressing. And I forget that I even went through that thought process, except that sometimes when people are going to be coming here for a tour or to do volunteering, they'll ask me ahead of time, how should I dress? And realize that they're concerned that they'll be cut off from a relationship with people here because they're overdressed. And that's not the case. But people certainly don't need to artificially dress down in order to come and be with people who are homeless.